What's going on, YouTube? This is part 2 of the carb rebuild video. Actually leaving the local store now, picking up some carb cleaner. After I get back home, we will finish up cleaning the carb up and we will get back to work on reassembling our carb and putting it on the car and see how it runs. So stick around. Alright guys, we're back at the house. Got our carb cleaner, finished cleaning up the carb. Now that the carb's clean, I'm going to reassemble with new gaskets and our new parts from our kit. And we're going to see if we can get it back together. It's already dark out now, so we'll have to put the carb on tomorrow. Alright, first thing we're going to do is get our carb back over here to where we can see it. You can see it's been cleaned now. It doesn't have a bunch of gunk and debris. First thing to go back in will be our gasket here. Then our new valve. Now that it's tightened down good and tight, this is ready to put our jets back in. I'm actually going to hit these jets one last time with just a little bit of carb cleaner. Make sure they're good and blowed out. Put our jets back in the hole here. Get them hand started. Make sure they're not cross threaded. Again, screwdriver is overkill, but it is needed for this application. Clean jets are back in, and this part's ready to go back in to the side of our carb. But right now, I'm actually going to go ahead and reassemble this here before we put the float bowl back onto the carb. Alright, we got our new diaphragm in with our spring. Now we're ready to put our float bowl and what I'm calling the metering block back onto the carb. Scratch that. We're not ready to put it back on because I need my gasket back. Have to have our gasket put back on here. That would have been a big mistake if I hadn't have caught that. Now we're ready to run our bolts back in, get them hand tight. All 4 bolts are in, hand tightened. Now we'll take our trusty Craftsman 8mm wrench. After I get that one hand tightened a little bit more, and we'll proceed to tighten these down. A lot of people are going to ask why I'm not using a socket wrench. There's not a lot of room around these to get a socket wrench into, or a or I would use a socket because I prefer to use a socket. And my 8mm ratcheting wrench does not like these bolts for some reason. So we're just going to use a regular old wrench to put this back together with. Now like this one I could probably use a socket and a ratchet, but I would much rather just use this because I can get a lot more torque and get this to seal back up really good. Just my personal preference. I'm sure my terminology on some things isn't correct because I haven't rebuilt a carb in a long time. And most of the carbs I do rebuild are not for a car. They're for a side-by-side or a quad, which I know most side-by-sides are fuel injected, but I have seen some that have had some funky swaps in them. But we normally rebuild carbs on quads, so we'll see how this one goes for us for the first time doing this. So we want to make sure we get a good seal on our float bowl here to make sure our carb isn't going to leak, which we had an issue with that on the car. Go outside sometimes and you would see fuel dripping out of the float bowl or out of our new valve we put in there. Did not need that issue, and I'm sure it was losing vacuum around there, which was causing part of our idle problem. Give her a good crank down on all of them one more time, just to make sure we have them good and seated. Alright, now to fight this and get this back on here correctly, which is going to be a struggle because I'm probably going to have to pull this back off and put it back on again. So I'll be back with y'all in just a moment. Alright guys, we've got our carb reassembled. Everything should be back in there where it was. Now I'm going to put our vacuum covers back on all our vacuum slots, like here, there, and there. We'll get those covered up, and we should be ready to reinstall the carb on the car tomorrow whenever it's time to put it on and see what we get out of it. Who knows, it might idle better, it might not run at all. Guess we'll find out. What's going on, guys? It's Robert back the next day after. As we told y'all, we was going to stop last night with what we were doing. The carb is now back together and we're ready to put it on the car. So let's get to it. It is super cold out today, so I do have the car hard on and we're going to see what we can get done. Alright guys, I've got the carb sitting back on the motor. I haven't bolted it down yet or hooked any of my lines back up or anything, but we do have it sitting back on the car. I'm going to bolt the carb down, hook the fuel line back up over here, get our throttle return spring and our throttle back on it, and we will see if we've got her fixed. Alright guys, we've got the carb back on the car. I did fire it up, had a couple little leaks, so I killed it. Let's see if I can get it fired up and running for you guys. I do know it's going to have to be adjusted, and timing is going to have to be adjusted because of the weather change. The weather has changed quite a bit since the last time we did the timing, so I'm sure the timing is off. And I'm going to have to check and make sure there's no vacuum leaks. Vacuum leaks could definitely be an issue on this thing right now, where we just put the new gaskets and stuff on it. So let's see what I can get to do. Well, let's see if I can keep her running. As I'm sure you guys can hear it does have a little bit better throttle response, but it is still laggy. Like I said, it probably needs to be checked for vacuum leaks. I'm sure we had a bad vacuum leak back in the summer. So we'll definitely get it checked for vacuum leaks. It's just too cold today to really sit out here and troubleshoot right now. I'm sure it needs the vacuum checked, and it'll also need to be reset now that we've cleaned it out. I'm sure we need to reset everything that's on it. Once we get it reset and get it running good, we'll have another video up, guys. So as always, like, subscribe, and comment, and thanks for watching.